Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a really interesting and frankly super important career shift, moving from being a native mobile developer to becoming what's called an experience engineer. We're going to walk through an entire curriculum built for this exact journey, breaking down not just why it matters, but the nitty-gritty of how you can actually get there. So let's jump right in. This quote really nails it. It gets to the very heart of what we're talking about. Amazing user experiences don't just magically appear from a design file. They are meticulously engineered. Behind every smooth animation, every intuitive tap, there's a bedrock of really smart code. It's not just about looking pretty, right? It's about making something feel right, and that's a deep technical challenge. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by defining what experience engineering even is. Then we'll look at the skill gap that's happening in the industry right now. After that, we'll lay out a clear path to get these new skills, dive into the crucial declarative mindset shift, and wrap it all up by talking about what it means to be a truly future-proof engineer. Okay, first things first. Before we get into all the code and the curriculum, we need to be on the same page. We need to really understand the vision. What is experience engineering all about? So what is it, really? Well, at its core, experience engineering is all about blending different worlds. It's not just front-end, and it's not just mobile. It's about using your coding skills creatively, having a deep sense of empathy for the user, and working hand in glove with design. The goal is to build these experiences that just feel natural, no matter if you're on a phone, a tablet, or a desktop. So why is this such a big deal all of a sudden? Why the urgency? Well, the simple answer is that there's a growing skill gap in the tech world, and it's happening right now. Just look at this number for a second. 5.34 billion mobile web users. This isn't just some trend, it's the air we breathe digitally. The web is the dominant platform, and the languages that power it. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, their influence is massive. You just can't ignore it. And that influence, it's bleeding right over into the native app world. I mean, just look at this chart. The cross-platform market is huge, and it's dominated by tools like React Native, which are fundamentally built on web ideas. Companies want that speed and the ability to reuse code, which means web skills are becoming essential, even for developers who live in a native world. And here's the key thing. This isn't about native versus web. It's not an either-or fight. Native apps will always be the gold standard for raw performance and that premium feel. But having web skills gives companies and you this huge strategic advantage. Honestly, the engineer who can speak both languages, that person is invaluable. And this leads us to the real opportunity here. We're not just talking about learning a new framework like React for the sake of it. The goal is to evolve from being someone who just uses a framework to someone who can build and lead entire UI platforms, a true platform engineer. All right, so we've got the why down. Now let's get to the good stuff, the how. We need a structured path, a real solution to help us make this leap. And this is what it looks like in the real world. On the left, you've got your standard, all-in-one monolithic app. But on the right, well, that's where things get interesting. This is a micro front-end setup. Every single feature is its own self-contained package. This is made possible by things like web components, which are basically custom, reusable HTML tags that work anywhere. This kind of setup is a game changer for speed and flexibility. And the payoff for thinking this way, it's huge. You get much tighter control over your design system. The lines between teams and features are crystal clear. You can ship things way more flexibly. And for you personally, it opens up way more projects and gives you a skill set that is absolutely future-proof. So here it is, the curriculum broken down into 4 clear steps. First, we start with web platform foundations. This is the absolute bedrock. I'm not just talking about basic HTML here. I mean a deep dive into how the web works, and critically, into things like design tokens, the single source of truth for all your styles. Then we move to web components, where you'll build those little reusable UI Legos we just talked about. Third, and this is so important, we learn React, but not as a tool for building UI. We learn it as an integration layer, a brain that manages state and tells our web components what to do. Finally, you put it all together and build a real-world feature from scratch. Okay, this next part is maybe the most important piece of the whole puzzle. It's the biggest hurdle, but also the biggest reward. This isn't just about learning syntax, it's about completely changing how you think about building an interface. This, right here, this is everything. If you walk away with one thing, let it be this. UI is a function of state. That's it. You have to unlearn a lifetime of telling the UI what to do directly. Instead, your only job is to change the data, the state, and the UI will magically update itself to match. This is the absolute core of the declarative mindset. Let's break that down. The old imperative way is like giving step-by-step commands. Find this button, change its color to red, now find this label and change its text. You manage every little detail. The new declarative way is totally different. An action happens, you update the state, and that's it. React looks at the new state and figures out the best way to make the screen match. You say what you want the UI to look like, not how to get it there. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Re-render sounds slow, right? Like you're tearing down the whole house just to change a light bulb. But that's not how it works. React is incredibly clever. When state changes, it builds a new blueprint of the UI in memory, a virtual DOM. Then it compares that new blueprint to the old one, finds the tiniest possible differences, and only applies those tiny changes to the actual screen. It's ridiculously efficient. So, to help you bridge that mental gap, think of this table as your personal translator, your Rosetta Stone for going from native to React. What you used to call a UI view or a fragment, that's just a component now. That stored property you'd update, now it's a piece of state managed with useState. Your old view loaded, a lot of that logic now lives in a useEffect hook. This mapping makes the transition so much smoother. And look, everyone makes mistakes when they're learning this stuff, so let me give you a cheat sheet of the biggest potholes to watch out for. Number 1, never change state directly. You always have to replace it. Don't think of uEffect as an exact copy of native lifecycle methods. It's different. These are the things that'll trip you up, so keep an eye on them. So let's zoom out. What's the big picture here? What's the end game after going through this whole journey? It really comes down to this: having one powerful declarative mindset that you can apply to any service you need to build on. It doesn't matter if it's a native app, a website, or even the components for a design system. The core thinking is identical. That kind of versatility, that's what makes you unstoppable. And we'll leave it with this one final, powerful question. The moment you stop asking yourself, how do I manually change this view, and you start asking, what should my data look like to make this view appear? That's the moment you've truly made the shift. You're not just a native dev or a web dev anymore. You're an experienced engineer